What if I told you that Kendra Robinson, the astute attorney who stood by young Jock through all of the baby mama scandals, cheating suspicions and career losses, has disclosed something startling that may potentially put this man out of business? Hold onto your phones. After all, in just 6 months, how could you go from being a power couple to assuming control of my life? Indeed, precisely by allegedly taking down your pregnant wife's announcement because you were worried about the baby or the criticism. Hip-hop romance and drama are over. This is a courtroom thriller that combines elements of a Lifetime movie and levels of messy. Why would Kendra erase a photo of her adorable baby bump as if it had never existed? Why was a podcast recording of Kendra sobbing in front of the camera? And Jock's shocking reaction to her pregnancy made public? And why is Jock being circulated online like a cheap beauty supply shop wig? We're going to discuss secrets Jock wishes that remained buried, emotional betrayals, and a woman finally standing in her truth. It's not just tea, though. This is a kettle explosion, nothing more. Hold on tight. Everything will be made public. All right, family. Let's get down to business since this isn't your normal birth announcement drama. Young Jock. This is Kendra Robinson's nonsense. The rise of petty babies, the tragedy of trust, and the loss of loyalty. Daddy spirit. Let's travel back in time. First, we all know Kendra Robinson, don't we? The formidable attorney, the woman who stayed beside Jock's confused hairline and even more confused life decisions. Looked like a total boss. She has been that calm queen in the middle of all his love and hip-hop drama. In the spring, when Jock is out here sprinkling more seeds than a lawnmower, Kendra has been she stays away from gunfire, baby mamas, and bad decisions like she's in the Matrix. But you know, even Neo couldn't escape this betrayal. It all started just a few days ago. It's a calm, peaceful, innocent little Instagram scroll when Kendra abruptly posts the picture. And trust me when I say that there was no flashback or vacation flex. In the courtroom, no slay. No, it was shining and shimmering at the goddess level. Portrait of a mother. Sis gave us all the I'm ready to be a mama vibes at the VMAs by bonking her stomach with her palm. There is only a hazy hint of new beginnings in the caption, but baby. The internet went into overdrive right away. Fans flooded the comments as if they were attempting to RSVP to the baby shower. You deserve this. Congratulations, Queen. Finally. There is peace. The team internet users are expressing relief. Thank God she's getting her happy ending. Because let's not forget this woman has been through hell with Jock. They remark, let's do a quick, messy flashback, shall we? Multiple baby mamas. That time he subtly proposed, but it looked like a dare. Public cheating rumors that even Stevie Wonder could see. Arguments that felt more staged than a Tyler Perry reunion episode. Finally, she's stepping into her own story. Was what we all thought when Kendra shared the news of her pregnancy. But she remained, standing beside Jock like a badge of loyalty sewn onto a heartbreak jacket. Stood up for him, grinned for the cameras, and kept her composure while Jock played musical chairs responsibly. Finally, something for her. But like Jock's rap career, that happiness was short-lived because the post vanished minutes after it was published. Poof. Taken out, lost. Like the latest hit song by Jock, there was no explanation, no clarification, and no narrative update on Kendra's page. You already know what happens when a well-known someone deletes a startling post. It's not just a technological glitch. That is a major warning sign. In high definition, swaying. Boy, that speculation blew up. May have been posted too soon. According to some, maybe she was waiting for the right time. There were rumors that it was a publicity stunt. Other conspiracy theorists on Love and Hip Hop Twitter speculated that Jock probably pushed her to take it down. They were right. The real tea didn't start to pour until the streets gets their hands on a pirated podcast segment. I say that everyone was left speechless, shivering, and in a state of shock. I mean that this clip went viral like a spiritual slap from Andy Yanla. Kendra's pure emotion left everyone on the internet stunned. It was from an unreleased podcast episode that was probably going to appear in a few weeks, but some nefarious angel leaked it beforehand. She sits across from the host and is poised but nervous. The host smiles, unaware of the emotional earthquake that is about to occur. "Congratulations," she says sweetly, "Kendra. I assume you're anticipating." Everyone, that's when it happened. The whole body of Kendra changed. The brilliance disappeared and her smile dimmed. Her lips were twitching as though she were stifling a scream that had been trapped for months. Her hands were shaking and her eyes were glistening. She cast her gaze downward. Then, as in a melancholy play, she stood up. A pause, and then an honest, damaged, low voice. He took the post down. The host seems confused. "Wait, who?" Kendra's voice trailed off. "Jock. He did not want anyone to know. He had no desire for this baby." That sound caused the internet to collapse, because that was the moment when everything changed. Kendra was no longer only a strong attorney. She was more than just the indifferent wife. She was pregnant, and the man she trusted the most had hurt her. She reveals that she is 6 months along with her pregnancy. Yes, 6. And that Jock's reaction was the emotional equivalent of a door being closed. "When I told him," she sobbed, "he didn't smile, he didn't embrace me, said nothing cute. Instead, Jock reportedly told her that this was not their goal, that they already had too much going on. The worst is on the horizon. A baby would make it worse, even terrible." Give that word some thought. This man claimed to have fathered enough children to qualify for a spin-off of Jock and the Babysitters Club, according to his own wife. Something went wrong with her pregnancy, and what do you know? Kendra didn't hurry over to the shady spots. She didn't say anything negative on Twitter. No, sis remained silent and didn't post any cryptic statements on Instagram, like "I'm too grown for this." She processed. She cried. The man who was holding her baby bulge wanted to hold her still. But she, the one who was supposed to assist her, deleted her happiness as if it were a typo. Despite her breakdown, she stayed strong, spoke the truth, and attended the podcast. Now, I know what you're thinking. There can be a misunderstanding. Oh, my dear, we're only beginning. Because Kendra's subsequent words were what truly made this situation into something horrifying. "He told me that this would ruin our relationship and that he wasn't," she said. The internet-o. They didn't just react, they revolted. But before we get into the leaked reactions, fake reports, anonymous sources, and online chaos, let's take a moment to reflect on the betrayal. The fact that the man is treating fatherhood like a gym membership, convenient. When it's fun, avoidable. When it's difficult. Let's set the scene for what happened after Kendra's truth broke the carefully controlled silence. Let's not get into the leaked reactions, the whispers from inside sources, and the digital firestorm that followed. After that podcast clip appeared on the timeline, it didn't just spread. It erupted, and within hours, Kendra's name was trending in all caps. The question on everyone's mind was one we've heard far too often. How can a man who's had more opportunities than a monopoly board still mess up the one woman who had his back? Investigations, TikToks, fan edits, and Twitter threads were being sent in faster than Jock's excuses. And hashtags like hashtag Stand With Kendra and hashtag Cancel Joie went viral overnight. One so-called source, who was allegedly a former assistant to someone in Jock's circle, claimed that a friend close to the family, a hairstylist who used to work with Kendra's cousin, and a producer from the show who saw it, all of them suddenly had tea so hot it could steam your phone screen. Insiders came crawling out of the woodwork, and you know how they do? This was not the first time Jock had tried to hide something this important. Off camera, he didn't want Kendra's pregnancy to make him look like he lost control of the narrative. But when the cameras are rolling, he plays the perfect husband. Another anonymous leak claims that Jock felt that having a new baby would ruin his current situation, which is unknown. But let's say that there are rumors of a mystery woman who has been seen with Jock at various events in Atlanta. always been image-obsessed, they said. Then came the phony receipts. Screenshots of purported texts between Jock and an anonymous individual went viral, including phrases like, "She's doing too much and this baby wasn't part of the plan." Whether those texts were edited, real, or the product of a bored fan using. Then came the podcast So, the same digital world that helped leak the false allegations that Jock tried to pay Kendra to keep things private, that he offered her a deal to keep things quiet until after the new season of Love and Hip Hop aired, and that he was more concerned about his reputation than her mental health. Of course not. But in the world of celebrity gossip, truth is just whatever goes viral first. There were opinions, theories, and sources about Kendra's suffering from influencers, commentators, and TikTok tea spillers. One particularly well-liked podcast claimed that Jock was heard arguing on the phone outside a Buckhead restaurant, shouting something like, "She wasn't supposed to do this." No sound, no proof, but the video got 500,000 views in just 48 hours. Additionally, Kendra's fake buddy went live on Instagram and said, "You guys don't even know half of it." The 22-minute live was filled with vague gestures, theatrical sighs, and no real information, but fans devoured it like leftover drama from the previous season. The plot was already established. Therefore, it didn't even matter whether it was real or not at this point. Jock was attempting to persuade her to get rid of the baby, claiming it would damage his reputation. The public's reactions were more than just social media noise. They were bitter, with people demanding that Jock be taken off all of his shows. Clubs reportedly considering canceling his appearances. And even a fake blog claiming that a brand he was working with was fired after the scandal. Kendra equals victim, Jock equals villain, and the longer he remained silent, the more permanent that story became. Kendra, on the other hand, continued to stay off social media. No second post, no new interview on, stayed silent. But this time it worked because the world was speaking for her. In the midst of all of this digital chaos, more details of the story began to surface. Once again, there were no receipts, just rumors, but they were spreading fast. A man who allegedly tried to erase his responsibilities rather than just ignoring them is depicted in fake documents, blurry screenshots, and half-baked direct messages. Some sources even began bringing up legal issues, saying that Kendra spoke with lawyers about custody in addition to the deleted post, suggesting that she is preparing to raise this child with or without Jock. Again, no court filings or actual legal actions have been confirmed, but the word custody was enough to send the internet into a frenzy once more, with people resurfacing old Love and Hip Hop clips, discussing whether Jock had ever been a good father to his other children, and discussing whether he had ever been a good father overall. Every eye roll and casual comment was now proof that Jock had always been garbage. The court of public opinion had made its decision, and Jock had no lawyer. Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, a second clip appeared online, allegedly from a later episode of the same podcast, in which Kendra says, "I've been going to every doctor's appointment alone, every ultrasound, every test. I sit in the waiting area and wait by myself." Jock would live to regret this for the rest of his life, according to those who referred to her as the Black Prenatal Mary. And perhaps he will. But he hasn't said anything yet. We're still observing, too. Just that quote sparked memes, quotes, videos, and thought pieces. It was deemed the saddest sentence of 2015 by bloggers. There was a complete breakdown on Twitter. You don't simply shatter a woman's heart, take away her happiness, and hope that the world will forget in this day, an age of receipts, ring lights, and revenge reels. The rest of us are preparing for the fallout because the rumors are true, while Jock supporters are still holding on to what little of his reputation remains. And that's the beginning of part 3, folks, because the storm isn't finished, yet's only beginning. But it didn't stop there. If anything, this was the unraveling start. Kendra Robinson stopped hiding and started disclosing real receipts after the live stream went viral. The consequences could be irrevocable, financial and legal in addition to being emotional. She said in another piece, "I was trying to save you when you didn't even want to save yourself." And those words really resonated. She asserted that young Jock had a habit of repeatedly disappointing her, manipulating her, and humiliating her in public, all of which had worn her down on an emotional and mental level. Kendra's close friends had been warning her about young Jock for years. According to insiders who began speaking in private circles, they said he was a chronic cheater, a man who couldn't take commitment, and someone who was still attempting to live like he was in his 20s while being over 40. But Kendra wanted to think it was more than just a shade, that it was a cry from someone who gave all to a man who was unsure of how to handle a true one. Let's discuss the impact this had on her career. Kendra is a well-known lawyer in addition to being a reality personality. But being linked to young Jock and his mess started to affect her, and prospective customers started to question her judgment. She endured grief in exchange for her patience and trust. Even on Love and Hip Hop, people didn't view Kendra as the lawyer. Instead, they saw her as the person who stuck with Jock after all that cheating, and she had to retract her narrative. As courtroom rumors followed her, she publicly distanced herself from everything joke-related, including joint appearances and club support, and once again focused on her legal career. According to reports, Kendra told producers frankly, "There is no healing." When they tried to convince her to go one more season with young Jock so they could tell their recovery story, events, and there will undoubtedly be no more romance plots. "In Love and Hip Hop, I've had enough of playing for the cameras. This man ruined my life, and I will now say it out loud." Meanwhile, young Jock tried to keep his composure. He made appearances on a number of podcasts about male errors and progress, when they are incapable of handling real women. However, others saw through it because Jock had something real, and he let it break apart for attention, power, and cheap thrills. Even included some fake deep comments, like where a king does not lead, a queen cannot flourish.